Like, have you ever felt like, I guess, have you ever felt that kind of competitive nature with other streamers, like other mute streamers like yourself, or it's just like, I'm just gonna do my thing and that's that? I don't know if I would say competitive, but it's easier for me to just do my thing. I'd say it's more of not wanting to compare myself to other people's numbers. Welcome to the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, your host, Neferty. This is episode 34 in the series, and tonight we are joined by the lovely and adorable CasualVR. She is a partner Twitch streamer and mute streamer, entertainer, and all around just cute cat. And we'll be learning more about her and what she does, how she got into all the things that she does. Hopefully we'll be learning a lot more than you even bargained for, but we'll have to wait and see. This is my first time having a chance to kind of sit down with Cass and get to know her. We're not like friendos, but maybe after this, maybe we'll feel a little bit more comfortable, and maybe, who knows, maybe we'll end up being friends, who knows. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think Cass is feeling pretty comfortable. How are you feeling tonight? Good. All right. She's A-okay, for real. All right, but before we get into tonight's podcast, I want to let you guys know, well, first of all, that I want to thank my patrons from Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really do appreciate your continued support. Those of you who have been very have been helping me to create more content, allow me to do more than I would normally. I really do appreciate you all very much. It means a lot to me. If you'd like to support me and help me to do more of what I do creatively, you can find me at patreon.com/Neferty. And I just wanted to thank the people who are making this possible, those of you who are watching, viewers like you, who are tuning in and supporting me, and liking, subscribing to my channel, and just kind of showing your support in that way too. That means a lot to me. So even if you don't subscribe to me on Patreon or don't follow me there, as long as you watch, like, and subscribe, that means a lot to me too. So thank you all who continue to help me, to give me courage to continue to do what I do, because this is something that not many people are doing, or I think no one is doing what I'm doing on VRC. I think this is pretty unique of what I do. So thank you so much for tuning in. And with that out the way, we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's podcast. So we are joined by CasualVR this evening, and I'm very much looking forward to getting to know her, because this is my first time chatting with her. And Cass, how are you feeling tonight? Are you excited about tonight? First time doing an interview like this? So Cass, because Cass is a mute, she will be typing things out. She'll be typing out her thoughts, and I'll be reading them out loud. So you will have to be patient with me and with her, because that is just how she communicates, and that will still make tonight very interesting. But please do tune in. I'm excited and nervous. Totally understand, hon. Totally understand. Well, I will do my best to make you feel as comfortable as possible, as humanly possible. And, I guess we're cats, so, the whole human thing is kind of overrated, I guess. But yeah, I will do my best to help you feel comfortable. I mean, we're both cats, so, at the very least, I think we can relate on that level. So, hell yeah. But, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Again, this is my, I'm a big fan. To kind of lead in with that, I've told you that off camera. I'm actually a very big fan of your content. I love what you do. I love the cozy vibes. I love the humor. I love the interaction. I love how much you really do care about the people who participate and engage with you in your chat. You're one of the most engaging mutes I have seen on VRChat when it comes to streaming. So, like, no lie. And I watch a lot of VRChat, to be real with you. So, like, I watch a lot of mutes and I watch a lot of VRChat. So, mute-wise, for me personally, you're one of the most engaging ones that I've seen. And I really do appreciate that. It's super, super cool. Because that takes a lot of work and dedication to do, because you're typing constantly. You're typing in emotes, you're typing in text, like you're engaging when people like, subscribe to you. Like you're doing the whole nine, and you do it effortlessly. And that's what I find so incredible about you. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation, learning more about how the hell you do all of it. And what got you to this point in the first place. So as we do, I'm gonna kind of ask you to introduce yourself. Tell those people who have no idea who you are, and do not say that I'm a cat. You cannot just type, "I am cat." You can't. So, but yeah, let the viewers know who you are, what you do, and what makes you you. I know I kind of gave you a little bit of introduction, but feel free to add on and talk about that. I'm Casual, and I stream VRC, and I vibe and dance and like being cozy. Cool, yeah. I think that sums you up pretty darn well. That makes sense to me. I think that's pretty accurate. Is there any other like do you have any like? Actually, I'll ask you that in the post content. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And I guess we'll just kind of jump into VRC. We'll talk about that. What got you into VRC? What actually, like, what was the first thing that got you into VRC? So basically, what did you encounter that made you want to even try VRChat in the first place? So normally, probably Murder Crumpet streams. Really interesting. Yeah, Murder Crumpet is a very prolific streamer. I would say one of the OGs. I would say probably one of the ones who were in there pretty much at ground level from what I've heard. I would say go as far as to perhaps even have pioneered or near pioneered, the VRChat meta, or like what it means to be a VRChat streamer. I know a lot of people like your content, so that's pretty cool. That is very interesting. I would say for me it was just kind of being interested in the whole VR technology. It was VR technology for me. So it was for you. It wasn't like VR. It wasn't the technology. It was just watching a stream, and you're just like, oh yeah, I should probably try to do this. The tech also, yeah, okay. So you would say you had an interest in VR prior to watching Murder Crumpet streams? Okay. Cool. All right. So with that said, so were you just using VRChat, or did you like jump right into stream? Like, were you streaming when you started watching Murder Crumpet, or were you like you weren't streaming at the time? Okay. So how was your initial around what year do you think, if you can recall, did you get into VRChat? I'm asking a lot of questions, 'cause there's so much I want to ask you. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what to ask first. And for those of you tuning in, I typically like to kind of be quiet, because it's like Cass is talking right now. So when she's typing, I want to be generally quiet so she can gather her thoughts and not have to hear my voice while she's trying to think about things. I got into VRC around late 2020 or early 2021, I think. Okay. So yeah, you were one of the ones who got in probably when everyone else was like, oh shit, VRChat, oh shit, pandemic, we should kind of gather here now, you know? All right. So around 20 or 2021, interesting. So yeah, that sounds kind of in line with how most people first discovered VRChat, which makes a lot of sense. So what was your first experience in VRChat like? And what, well, we'll go with that. What was your first experience in VRChat like, if you can remember? A bit nerve-wracking. Well, like, can you go into detail about that? You said it made you a bit nervous. Why did go into VRChat make you nervous? What was it about it that kind of made you kind of feel the kind of way about it? People in general make me nervous at times, and it was new to you. Okay. Gotcha. So, so does those feelings of like feeling like nervous around people, is that like how you generally feel IRL too? Do you generally feel that way, like just nervous around people in general? So if you in general kind of feel nervous around people, how do you deal with that? Like how do you kind of, like you have a community, you have like you're a streamer, like, so, and I guess in real life, how do you kind of deal with being around people? And when you initially get into VRC, how did you first kind of work your way through being nervous around people? So both IRL and in VR. If they're the same, you can let me know. But if they're different, feel free to go into detail. IRL, I just kind of push through since you kind of have to. Felt. And what about in VR? VRC, I was able to be mute and just kind of observe. Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, so I'll show that again, just so in case people miss it. So in VRC, I was able to be mute and just kind of observe. Okay, so being mute was your initial state of being when you started VRChat? Pretty much, yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, okay. So let's see. So I guess what got you? What about VRC made you stay? So like, if VRC is largely a social platform, which it is, what about it made you want to stick around? Like, it's like it's kind of demanding you to be social. So it's like you're putting yourself in a social situation, or I guess you have more control over your social situations in VRC than you do IRL. So I mean, that is a good point, a strong point. So I guess how do you kind of manage? I guess what about VRC made you stay because of the whole social aspect? Like, I kind of just wanted to meet people and maybe make friends. Aw, okay, that's extremely wholesome. I like that. Honestly, like for real, like to be real, like I think a lot of people, especially in 2020, 2021, were honestly just looking to have some form of social interaction, because I think despite people being, a lot of people being very kind of nervous or having like anxiety about meeting new people, I think at the core of things, being by themselves was, I think meeting people and being social was a better option than being by themselves. So, you couldn't go outside, you couldn't really hang out with your IRL friends if you had any. So I think VRC was like a safe haven for a lot of people during that period of time, and allowed them to meet a lot of new people. Did you end up making friends when you first started in VRC? Kinda took you a while to make good ones, though. Yeah, I think the good ones always take time to really kind of find. Like, you don't, I mean, sometimes you get lucky and find you find good people very quickly, but I think most people aren't so lucky. I was kind of lucky in that regard, but for what it's worth, most of the people that I met when I first started VRC, I generally don't really interact with, or I don't see them in VRC anymore. So, yeah, I think things definitely change over time, because, people move on, because, like, it's at the heart of everything. I think a lot of people do consider VRChat like a game that you can just kind of quit at any given point in time, which you can. But I think for many of us, those of us who have kind of made VRC kind of our way of making a living, or just how we create content, it's obviously more difficult for us to leave the platform whenever we get bored of it, because if we're making content, obviously we're not really bored with the platform, Yeah, makes sense. So so I guess, when did you realize you wanted to start making content on VRChat? Like, you could have done a ton of other things. You could have been a mute doing a million other things. But why did you decide to get into making content from VRChat? I don't know, it just felt like... Oh my god. Oh, I just felt like making content in VRC. So okay, I can actually understand that. So okay, you just felt like it. Let me try to kind of build on that statement. Like, it was something that you believed you could do. No? Like, what was, okay, so you had no confidence when you just started. You're just like, you know, you liked VRChat enough to start making content for it. Okay. But I guess at what point did you say, okay, VRChat is fun, I enjoy being here, I've made like a few friends, let me start doing that. Like, at what point did you kind of understand for yourself, hey, I really just like, I want to kind of do this on stream? I know you said you just felt like it, but like, I want to get more specific, more granular with that answer. Like, one does not simply wake up one day and say, I want to be a streamer, and then do it. It's just not usually how it works, you know? Well, I started streaming because I wanted to try and break out of your shell more. Okay. Yeah, I knew there was more to it. I knew there was definitely more to it. Okay, cool, thank you. You wanted to break out of your shell, so you decided to start streaming in order to kind of put yourself out there more. Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, I guess speaking of streaming, I'm gonna kind of double back to your introductions because I kind of remembered my basic questions for you. How did you, I know you wanted to break out of your shell, but how did you come up with your name? When you decided to break out of your shell, how did you come up with Casual VR? Were you always Casual VR? I just like the name Casual because I feel like I'm pretty casual and casual was taken. Gotcha. Okay. So, did it take you very long to kind of, to come up with that name? Like, did you, so you're watching Murder Crumpet. Was your name Casual VR when you were just a viewer, not a streamer? No? So you changed it. You changed it when you decided to start streaming. Okay. What was it before? If you don't mind me asking. Oh, okay. It's a secret. Okay. Fair. Okay. I get you. All right. No problem. All right. And so like, when you started streaming, did you? Well, we're not gonna go too deep into streaming right now, but I do want to ask you, did you always start off as a cat? Okay. Always been a cat. Okay, cool. All right. I think these are like, they sound like basic questions, but like I think a lot of people I don't think a lot of people had a chance to like ask you like, Cass, have you always been a cat? Were you something different before? Were you human probably at one point, you know? Yeah, just always cat. Gotcha. All right. Cool. So what's one thing that you really appreciate about VRChat, and one thing that you really wish could change about VRChat? I appreciate the people that are really welcoming. I don't appreciate the toxic people. I can agree with that. I can agree with that. How would you define welcoming, and how would you define toxic? In your personal opinion. Welcoming as in people that are chill and easy to vibe and be around and just let you be you. Okay. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Just people who are just kind of easygoing, like me. Right? Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're not just saying that, right? Yeah, you believe it. Okay. Okay. Nice. Awesome. Glad I'm doing okay then. That's comforting. I appreciate that. I do my best, ex yakuza and all that. But but yeah. So oh yes, how would you define toxic then? So like you define welcoming as like just people that are easy and easy to vibe with and be chill with. But what's toxic to you? People that want to take advantage of you. Rippers, crashers, gamer word users, those type of people. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Just, people who have nothing better to do with their lives than to make other people's experiences shitty. Because they are shitty people and probably very lonely people. So, yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. It's unfortunate that there are just very miserable people out there that don't know how to take control of their lives, and they would rather make other people feel miserable than try to make themselves feel actually valuable. I think it's very difficult, despite having so much at our fingertips, despite technology and information being so readily accessible. I think there's still a lot of people who just don't know how to find meaning and purpose. Things that making their life worth living, and instead, because they're so lost, they have to bring people down because they think it's funny. So like they find meaning in the humor of making someone's life miserable or making someone inconveniencing someone else. And yeah, those are the worst types of people. So I definitely agree with you there. And like there's definitely a lot of people in VRChat who are like that for sure. But kind of is what it is. And we kind of navigate around that, and we find our friend groups, and then we just avoid public world, so we don't have to deal with the idiots, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. basically, yeah. What's your opinion on groups in VRC when that became a thing? Oh, did you have any strong feelings about groups? Kind of creating a means by which you can have people in one place, kind of gathering together. You know that they're your people, you know, in a way. I thought it was a cool idea. Yeah. How have you made use of groups? Actually, wait, that's a silly question. I think it makes sense, like how you would make use of groups. You basically made one, and then you let people join it. So I mean and then you run events, you know, community events. So I mean, I think that makes sense. You know, it's a pretty self-explanatory answer. Let's instead talk about VR technology. Let's instead talk about that. Because you said you had an interest in it. What was it about VR technology that got you interested in kind of, you know, getting into it? Was VRChat the reason you got into VR, or were you interested in VR technology and then VRChat came? Your interest in VRChat came after. I know I just asked 2 questions, but answer them how you feel comfortable. I've always liked tech, and the first thing that I actually wanted VR for was Beat Saber. And then the want for VR kept growing until you caved. Okay, cool. What was your, have you had multiple headsets? Or just one? Just the Index. Cool. Yeah, same with me. Same for me. The Index is my first and only headset that I just kind of invested in. I'm like, for me, it was like, if I'm gonna be in VR, I better go big, because if you're gonna even bother with it, you might as well have the best experience for it, like available, you know. So yeah, I get that. So you said you're really into the VR tech for Beat Saber. Do you still play Beat Saber? Every so often, or are you mostly in VRChat these days? I haven't played in a long time. Gotcha. I've actually never played the official Beat Saber game in VR yet, and I've had my headset for almost 2 years now. I still have not purchased Beat Saber yet. Which is, I know that's wild to think about, but I literally was just like, VRChat, I'm gonna try it, and I really liked it. Found out a lot of people just really kind of they like to keep things very surface level in VRChat. I think a lot of people they don't want to let people get to know them on a significant level, because I think a lot of people are just I think they either want to be someone else, or they don't really like themselves, or they're afraid that people just won't like them as a person. So I feel like VRChat interactions typically, among people, I guess kind of overall, I think VRChat interactions are pretty surface level. But I've always been the kind of person who wants to kind of dig in and really get to know a person. I think that's more meaningful that way. So, have you noticed anything like that? Have you had any do you I guess how have your interactions on VRChat, how have they been for you? Have they been kind of surface level, pretty just like, hi, how are you? Weather's nice. Okay, bye. Or has it like gone a little bit further than that? You know, people like actually like talking to you and getting to know you. Because that's why I started the podcast. I noticed that about people. A lot of it is surface level, yeah. Like you friend each other and never see them again. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not a fan of that. Like I know there's a lot of people who, especially like new people who are new to VRC, they're just like, let me friend as many people as I can so I can get more privileges or whatever. I know, because I know that is a thing, you know. Depending on how long you've been in VRChat and how many people you have like on your friends list, that'll get you kind of higher into the hierarchy a lot faster. But yeah, it is very, very surface level, and I know I've never been a fan of that. But unfortunately, the majority of people are fans of it, which makes my personal interactions pretty difficult. Again, that's why I started the podcast, so I could have conversations with people like yourself who may be wanting to have those kinds of interactions, but really haven't had a chance to really kind of like talk about themselves in a way that didn't seem pretentious or like overbearing. Because I think that's another thing that people feel. Like they feel like if they talk about themselves too much, then they become annoying. So they just don't even want to talk about themselves at all. It's kind of like people can't find a balance between the two. And I think that keeps a lot of people from really trying to get to know each other, and especially like, you know, just the whole friending and never talking to each other thing again. Like I've never been a fan of that. I've just never ever been a fan of that. And I try my best to not be one of those people, but I know I'm just as guilty of it as like I know all of us are very guilty of it. It's hard to avoid because like you meet like when you're a streamer and you hang around people. I think it's hard to kind of like spend time with all of them, you know? You meet so many people as a streamer, as a content creator, and then you're like, oh shit, like I see this person and that person, and like I don't even know, I don't even feel comfortable reaching out to them kind of thing. Like they friended me once, maybe I remember where they friended me, and then it's just like, oh, well, I don't even know where I met them kind of thing after like a couple of weeks. Because like, I think just VRChat functions differently in terms of interactions. VRChat makes interactions easier, but I think they're more superficial because they're easier. So people don't feel like they have to put in as much work because, you know, most interactions are pretty surface level anyway. What do you think about that? You agree? Okay, cool. Yeah. It's definitely something that I want to. I've been trying to kind of like trying to combat against it by, you know, doing this thing. But obviously I can only talk to so many people. But I love doing this. So thank you again for being willing to have a conversation with me. So like it didn't just have to be very, very surface level with you. Because I also think that like a lot of people who get to know streamers. Obviously, you know, we want our audience to like get to know us, but we also can't tell them everything. Because like we have to be we have to protect ourselves and not, you know, let people in too much. Because I think it's just like obviously it makes sense because like, you know, I think parasocialism is gonna happen. Like when you're like if you're a good streamer. Having people who are parasocially attached to you is gonna happen, and vice versa. Like, do you feel like, I guess, what are your thoughts on the parasocial kind of balance between the two, like between streamer and viewer? Because I know that you're a viewer too, so like, what do you think about that? I've never really been much more than a lurker, but I know people can get and feel pretty involved with their favorite streamers. Gotcha, gotcha. I know we were talking about parasocialism before, about like how people kind of like how we have to be very protective of who we are as streamers and content creators, and that we were talking about how how you're a viewer, I'm a viewer, but you mostly lurk. But do you have a streamer that you watch very often? Like, do you have a streamer that you watch? And you don't have to say who. Do you have like a favorite streamer that you kind of enjoy? And yeah. Do you have a streamer that you generally enjoy, or that you feel like kind of like parasocially like committed to? Like, do you have anyone like that? You can answer yes or no. Look at me as specific as you wanna. I used to watch more, but I don't as much. I did have a few faves. I don't know how parasocial it was. Gotcha. So, okay. So you're not. So you watch Twitch, but you're not like watching like 10 streamers. You're like watching like less than like 5 these days. Would you say? Or would you say that you're very selective? More or less. Yeah, mainly use it for background noise. Okay. Gotcha. I think that's pretty normal, honestly. Like, you know, I don't fault anyone for that, because I do it too. Like, and I watch a lot of streamers, and like, so I understand, you know, I tune in for a lot of them. I try my best to tune in, but sometimes it does end up being background noise, because like, obviously, you know, we're doing other things. So, you know, as both a streamer who does it, as a viewer who does it, and a streamer who experiences it, I think it's easy for, like, you know, someone like me and for you to kind of understand that, you know, people just kind of do that. But in your case, I mean, I guess the background noise for your streams would be the music that you play. That would largely be that, yeah. In that case. But yeah. But honestly, I think that's what makes mute streamers very interesting, because like, you kind of have to pay attention. But we'll be getting into like you being a mute and everything like that. We'll be talking about that a little bit, like very, very soon. But I do still want to kind of I want to stick with the whole let's talk about like VRChat and VR technology. So, do you have any sort of background in like technology? Like, do you like is that like does your interest in VR come from something specific, or was it just like, oh, VR is cool, I like this thing? Where did it start? Where did your interest in that kind of technology begin? I've always liked video games. That's probably the start. Okay. Nice. Interesting. So, why only stream VRChat? and not any games. Curious about that. Why just VRChat? I've streamed a few different games, but VRC is more interactive, and I like interacting with chat. Gotcha. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I think, I mean, that shows. I think it's extremely apparent that you have fun interacting with chat. It's what makes you you, and I think that's really special. Obviously, you should stream whatever you want to stream, but yeah, I think I normally do a little bit of research into my guests, but I didn't do a whole lot of looking into you because I just kind of wanted to talk to you, and just kind of find out for myself directly from you. But yeah, that makes sense to me. So where would you like VR technology to go? Since you obviously like games, you're into VR technology. I'm assuming you know about like augmented reality as well. Things like Pokemon Go, so on and so forth. So like where would you like VR technology to go? Are you interested in like it becoming more immersive? Like do you want it to be like when you reach out to someone in VR that you can feel it? Like do you want it to go that far? What are your hopes for VR technology? Just as a fan. Would be cool to get as close to IRL as possible. Okay. So okay, let's actually run with that idea for a little bit. Let's run with that. So, let's say hypothetically speaking, VRChat did ultimately eventually get to a point where, or technology, not VRChat, because VRChat is just a vehicle for interactions. It's not the technology itself. So let's say VR technology got to a point where it was close to IRL. Wouldn't you say that like people would develop anxiety similar to what they have IRL? Because if it were as interactive and as, I guess, real as it is as it would be IRL, wouldn't that kind of stress people out? Make people not really want to interact with it as much? Maybe, but I'd say you'd have more control over it than IRL. True. Like if we continue to use VRChat as like the framework for where these IRL like interactions would take place, based on where the technology or where VRChat's features are already going, having that kind of control, I suppose, would make it it would make it a lot more curated. People's experiences could be more curated than it would be IRL, as opposed to like I have to interact with these people in this space kind of thing. More like it would be more like I choose to interact with these people in these spaces. So why would you want it to become more IRL like in your opinion? Like are you familiar with Sword Art Online? Yeah. I mean, I kind of use that as a framework, as like a thought exercise, because I think a lot of people know about SAO. So like, why would you want it to become more interactive or more kind of close in that regard. What are your reasons or reason for that? SAO seems more fun than IRL. Okay. So you die in the game, you die in real life. you know, you know the meme. But yeah. So like, I get what you mean. So like the ability to kind of like take on an avatar and have your own experiences and kind of like you would essentially, like in that kind of situation, you would be casual, the mute cat streamer essentially. And that would be your identity among all of these other people, which I mean it currently is, but in a more kind of IRL setting, you know, I think people would really kind of. I mean, I'm actually kind of thinking about this in real time. If people became more, if the experiences became more IRL like in VR, wouldn't that make people value the interactions more? Because it would feel more real. Because I feel like people IRL have closer experiences, or I think people like who have meaningful experiences IRL, I think they cherish them more or around the same than they do in VRC. But I think if VRC was akin, or the technology got us to a point where VRC was akin to IRL, I think more people would value that. And I think more people would be more selective about who they added to their friends list, despite it being a more curated experience. Like, do you get what I mean by that? I think like people would have a greater appreciation for the interactions that they have with people, because they would actually be able to like feel them. Like they could like touch their shoulder or sort of like when they head pat them, like you would feel that. So like, you know, it wouldn't just be phantom sense anymore. It would be a whole experience. And I think people's experiences would be that much more fulfilling in VRC in that way. Not saying that people's experiences in VRC are not fulfilling, because I'm not saying that, but I would say that it would have more of appreciation for it. Like, what do you think? Anything would change? Do you think it'd be the same? Like, basically, if you agree with me, you think it would change. But if you think it'd be the same, then, you know, I mean, I'd want to know kind of what do you think about it. It would change. Being able to feel people would be a little wild without some safeguards. Right. I would say like the baseline safeguard would be like an option to, because like, you know, they like, you know how avatars have like interactions you can like turn those on and off, or have them exclusively for friends kind of thing. Like you would have to like make it like not exactly, but akin to something like that. Yeah. To be able to turn that on and off for certain people. Yeah. So like if you turned it off, it would be like it is like right now for us. But if you turned it on, you'd be able to have that option to kind of experience that. I think I think having options is good. Having options is good when it comes to like new technologies and things like that. Let me see. What? Okay, I do have another VR question for you. Because I like to really kind of dig into the minds of people who I talk to, because obviously, you know, we're all here, we're using VRChat, we spend a lot of our time here, like regardless of like how you slice it, we spend a lot of time in VR. So like we've kind of built up a body of experience and insights and opinions and personal understandings about what it means to be on this platform. So I like to like kind of dig and poke at people to kind of figure out exactly like what do they think about it. So I love this particular question. I ask my friends this question very, very often. Is your perception of time in VRC different than it is IRL. And what I mean by that is, like, does it feel as though, like, if you, like, let's say you meet someone in VRC, you have a great time hanging out with them, and, like, you kind of, like, you keep talking to them over the course of, like, you know, a couple of weeks, but, like, when you kind of think back to, like, when you met them, it feels as though you've known them for longer than the period of time than you actually have. So there's, like, kind of, like time appears to... Does time appear to expand to you, or is your sense of time the same IRL as it is in VR, or is it different, like in kind of the scope of which you meet people, and doesn't feel like you've met them or that you've known them for a longer period of time? I know it's a weird question, but I like to ask people this kind of question. It's a difficult question for some, but I think it's a interesting kind of thought exercise. Like, do you perceive time differently in VR than you do IRL when it comes to like your interactions and people and such? I'm not sure. I don't think so, because I have to stick to somewhat of a schedule, but maybe. Okay. Okay, so I understand, like, I don't mean in terms of, like, scheduling, which I completely understand. Obviously, we're streamers, so we have to have, like, a consistent schedule of when we're in VRC and when we're not. But let me see if I can make this a little bit clear. So I don't want to get into my whole theory about this, and I think some people like may know about this. I talk about this with a lot of my guests. But does time seem faster in VRC? Like when you're like interacting with people and people that you've met, does it seem like you've known them for longer than you actually have? Like, does time seem to kind of expand from when you've known them? Unrelated to streaming, unrelated to like just like your own personal perspective of how you kind of... Let me give you an example. I have many friends that I've known in VRC for like a couple of months. But I have a very good friend that like we don't hang out very much, but when we do, it's a great time. It's always wonderful. But like, it feels like I've known her for more than 2 years, or I've known her for more than 2 years, even though I've only known them for like 7 or 8 months, kind of thing. It's just like the depth of experience just seems longer because we spent it in VRC and we met in VRC. So just my perception of my relationship with them, it just feels like it cognitively feels as though I've known them for 2 years, even though in reality I've only known them for like almost like a little over half a year. So do you have any sort of sense of like your experiences being similar to that? Have you ever felt anything kind of related to that? Sort of. In VRC, you can have a lot of deep interaction with the people you wouldn't probably have IRL. I agree. Yeah. And not only can you have like a lot of deep interactions, but you can have deep interactions with people like at a like you have a lot you can have like what was I gonna say? So you can have a lot of deep interactions with people than you would probably have in IRL, true. And you can also like Wow, I totally lost my train of thought. Holy shit, this doesn't really happen very often. I hate that. I hate when that happens. But anyway, so you can have a lot of deep interaction with the people. True, I agree with you. And the frequency at which you can have these interactions are, like, it's definitely unlike what you can have in IRL, because, like, 1 second you can be, like, hanging out with a group of people, and then, like, a couple of hours later you could be hanging out with just one person, and then maybe a little bit later on you could be hanging out with another person, and, like, they're all kind of, like, meaningful interactions that you're having, seemingly, like, within a very small scope of time, but you've had so many that, like, I think that does affect our kind of perception of time, and, like, the flow of it in VR. But it's a really interesting concept that I've been mulling over and think about. It's I call it hyper reality, and the theory is essentially, like, our sense of time is sped up around 10 to 15 times faster than in reality because of the rate at which we can have deep experiences with people. So I feel like that's, like, I feel like just for whatever reason, our time in VRC just feels deeper and more meaningful here. And because of the frequency that we can have, it seems like we've known people longer. Because for whatever reason, our brain kind of processes time differently here because of just the rate at which we can just have these experiences and the times of day. Like, it's dark outside here, in this world, but then we can go to a world that's, like, bright as fuck. Like, yeah, like, so, like, our perceptions are constantly changing based on the space that we're inhabiting in VR. And I think that does fuck with our perception of time and just reality in general. But yeah, I think it's really pretty interesting. And kind of something for you to chew on. But you did say sort of, which is good. That's actually encouraging, because, like, I genuinely love asking people this question, because I think it's a really interesting concept that I think a lot of people don't realize. And you only really understand it after you've been in VR, like, as much as we have. Like, how many hours do you have in VRC, for example? Do you know offhand? Okay, yeah. I think that's pretty good. Like, cause you've been on VRC since 2020, 2021. So to me, that's a good number. 1900. I'll just say 1,928. I don't like saying it the other way. It's confusing. 1928. You know, it's weird. But yeah. So 1,920, close to 2,000 hours over the course of nearly almost 4 years. Well, it'll be around 4 years, like at the end of this year. Would you say? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sort of, kind of, like, more or less. Yeah. I get you. Okay. All right, nice. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, you only start to kind of, like, feel differently and kind of experience being here differently after you've amassed, like, 1,000 hours or something like that. Like, I think things start to kind of feel and seem differently after you kind of get past that threshold, and I think it only becomes more kind of intense, or more kind of tangible, I guess philosophically speaking, that after you've spent the time in the space for a long period of time, it just becomes a lot more kind of like, I understand this, like, in a real personal way kind of thing. But yeah, thank you for entertaining my questions. Like, I love talking about this sort of stuff, and I love knowing, like, what my guests think about that sort of thing. But let's get into you being mute. Okay. So I'm actually gonna skip ahead, or actually kind of go back and ask a question I probably should have asked at the beginning of the podcast. Why a cat? Simple question, but also very complex. Cats are cute. Agreed. Agreed. True. Big true. I should know. I'm one too. I should know. We both know. We both know what's up. Cool. That's that. I think that's reasonable. Cats are in fact cute. And though it was just a kind of natural choice for you. Nothing too complex. Oh, you had lag. Okay. So so being a cat for you, it was just kind of the natural choice for you. It wasn't too complex or anything. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll be a cat. You didn't think about it too deeply. It was just, it is what it is. Okay. So it wasn't because of like the avatar that you had at the time or anything like that. It was just like, I'm just gonna be a cat. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Gotcha. Alright, so we did kind of touch on, like, in the early part of the podcast of, like, you basically start doing VRC, as a mute. So, has that been, okay. So, is your reasoning for being a mute based on your, just, I guess, is it social? Is it socially based? Or you just don't want to kind of use your voice in that regard? I guess, let me know your reason or reasons for being a mute. I know, again, we talked about it earlier, but let's kind of like dig in deeper. Like, why do you maintain being a mute? I'm a shy person, and social things are hard sometimes. And I don't feel like I always have something to say. Okay, gotcha. Understandable. So how did, okay, so being a mute allows you to, I mean, you started streaming because you wanted to put yourself out there, and being a mute allows you to just kind of, I guess, be more interactive rather than having to rely on what comes out of your mouth. So instead of having to be like, I have to say something interesting, all I have to do is kind of be interesting. Okay, more or less. Okay, gotcha. Oh, so being a shy person is kind of like that's like the core of why you're essentially a mute, because like you seem very sociable, and even if you don't always have something to say, like you seem very, very nice. Obviously you are very, very nice, very, very sweet. Yeah, so like But I guess, you know, being shy is pretty reasonable. So isn't it hard though? You know, having to, you know, type in chat, you know, kind of play charades sometimes, getting people's attention. What is it? What is your experience being a mute like, personally? It can be a bit hard when I do have something I want to say, but I enjoy it. But yeah, it can be a little weird being kind of ignored sometimes. Yeah. Like that's really a topic that I talk to very often with the mutes that I've had on my podcast in the past. The idea of kind of coping with being ignored, like when you actually do want to interact with somebody and kind of ask them something, especially when you're like in a crowd of people. I'm sure it's probably a little bit different when you're a streamer, you know, because people usually are there for you in most cases. But like I imagine you have interactions outside of, you know, being casual the streamer. You're just casual the friend, or you know, I'm pretty sure that exists for you, and like. I mean, you said it can be a little weird and difficult sometimes to be ignored. So, I guess if it can be challenging sometimes, but you said it can be fun. So the fun outweighs the challenge and like the misfortune of potentially being ignored. And it's comfortable, and talking isn't always comfortable. Gotcha. Well, speak for yourself. I run my mouth all the time. But I guess, you know, you need a balance of both. You need people who are just very kind of like, you know, I'm just going to kind of let things happen and just kind of watch and observe and be adorable. But then you got people like me who are just like, hey, what's up? How's it going? How you doing? You know, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, hey, I'm glad that you're here, you know. Like, hi, Cass, you know. Like, I'm the kind of person who wants to, like, go up to the mute and be like, hi, how are you doing? You know, Like make them feel like someone sees them, you know? Because I imagine it can be very, very kind of isolating at times. Like, what do you do when you kind of experience those feelings? Like, is it very commonplace? Is it common when you kind of encounter those sorts of feelings, or is it just like not? It doesn't happen very often enough for you to like really be affected by it. Generally, I don't go to many public stuff, so it doesn't affect you too much. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, like, Man, that makes me want to ask, like, what do you do when you're not streaming? Like, I will ask you that question, because I think a lot of VRChat streamers, you know, like you and me, we typically go to, like, you know, we typically go to events, you know, we have, like, friends who are, like, performing, or, like, just, you know, someone is, like, having a birthday party, and, like, we'll go to that sort of thing. But, like, are you really just kind of, like, I go into VRC to work, and then I'm done? Kinda, sometimes IRL can be pretty busy. Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, because obviously, you know, regardless of us being streamers, you know, we still have to take care of stuff out there, and it's not very glamorous. But yeah, I feel like I definitely get that. So how, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, how mute are you IRL? Since you're like a 10%, you're 100% mute here. How far does that go IRL? I don't know. I don't really talk much unless I'm with friends. Gotcha. Okay. So doing this sort of thing with me was it's kind of a big step, would you say? Or was it kind of like, it was pretty much a big step. Gotcha. Which again, like that, I mean, like I imagine there are a lot of mutes. Like I like to ask these questions about with mutes, because I know. No, like, mutes aren't inherently the same, though some of them don't, well, all of them don't speak, all of them don't use their voice, in most cases, I would say. Or if they do have a voice, it's text-to-speech, which, you know, I think, I am curious as to your opinions on, I guess, what makes a VRC mute a VRC mute. But we'll get to that in a second. But, like, I feel like, I know mutes are varied. They're varied individuals, so I think it's important to kind of get context as to like to what degree are they mute IRL in comparison to VRC, because you know I feel like those kind of details are important. I think they are important to find out, and they're interesting to me at least. So I guess in your opinion, what does make a mute? Like, what are the characteristics of like a mute? And I guess in your estimation. And again, I know mutes are different. They all do their own things. But like, I guess to you, like, I guess what would be like the most kind of, I guess the realist way of being a VRC mute? You know, like the etiquette of being a VRC mute. Asking questions Cass have never thought of before. That's what I do here. Like the etiquette between mutes, or just how to act like a mute? Oh, just how to act like a mute. I don't know, basically just don't talk and express yourself how you want to. Okay. That's fair. Do you think that typing is a requirement? No, okay. So even without, I guess speech to text or text to speech, a mute to me, like as long as you don't use your actual voice, that basically qualifies you as being mute. Okay. Gotcha. And so, let me see. How did you develop your style of being a mute? Because, like I said, mutes are different. They express themselves differently. So, how did you kind of establish your method of like your style of streaming? I know this kind of gets into the streaming aspect of things, but yeah, how did you kind of like figure out like how you should be casual? Pretty much through streaming more. Okay. So there was no inspiration? So you just kind of figured it out on your own? I mean, I knew of other mutes from streams, but I kind of did my own thing. Interesting. Okay. So essentially you're like, okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. I have not seen, I mean, I do see mutes who are very kind of big and expressive, but like your method of doing it is very kind of uniquely you. And so, like, I no, no, like, really, like, I think it's important for you to understand that. Like, if you don't, if you didn't know that, it's true. At least from what I've seen, I haven't watched every Mute Under the Sun. I'll say that, but I've watched many, and I pay attention to like the styles that are used, among these streamers, and in terms of like how you express yourself, in terms of just like how you kind of like lean into being a cat. I think that's pretty unique in your presentation and how you kind of go about like expressing yourself as a mute. I think that's what makes you so charming, and so like interesting to me as a viewer. I am, again, like I said, I'm a fan. I watch you, and like I enjoy how you kind of conduct your streams. It's kind of like your streams are kind of like you kind of take chat on a journey. Like you're just kind of like, you're just a curious cat kind of exploring different worlds, and occasionally acknowledging that the camera is there, and if someone says something in chat, you'll kind of stand there and do the typey types, and then you'll just kind of go back to just being and interacting with what's around you. It's a very kind of curious style of presentation, which I find extremely charming. And again, like the way that you kind of again, how you kind of portray yourself as casual, as like this like I'm in this body, I'm in this really hot body, but I'm a cat. Like it's just like geez, like I mean that's a very kind of, I think that's a unique, to me it seems unique and different, which is very, very cool. And you're saying that you basically kind of figured that out over time, just practicing, trying different things out, and just kind of figuring that out for yourself? Pretty much, I just try to be entertaining and entertain myself at the same time. And I just kind of am myself. Okay, so that's an interesting statement. I just kind of am myself. So, I guess, if you'll indulge me with this question, how much is casual like you IRL? How much of it is a performance, and how much of it is like you? To be honest, it's hard for me to play a role for too long, so it's mainly just me. Gotcha, okay. Fair. Yeah, I think that's the case. Like, I think it's, I think there's an interesting debate to be had, with regards to be an authentic streamer versus, play someone that isn't quite you, but close to you, versus just play a character. So there's actually like 3 possibilities for streamers. Yeah. And so it's I think it's an interesting kind of debate to be had. Like, to what degree is it valuable to be authentic? To what degree is it important to play a character? And like you said, you're just basically you, which is interesting. It's very, very interesting. So, your style of entertaining yourself and just kind of having fun with the whole idea of being mute is just kind of like, I just want to kind of have fun with it. And just kind of, entertain myself and entertain as many people as I can. More or less. Cool. Interesting. All right. Well, I think I may have exhausted all of my questions with regards to you being mute. So I think it's time we kind of get into the whole streaming thing, which is, kind of pretty much, adjacent to your activities as a mute. But let's kind of start at the beginning. When did you decide to start streaming? January 2022, okay. Wow, okay, so if I think about that, holy shit, wait. There's no. You just, no. No, yo, okay. But your fucking partner. No, okay. So you started streaming in 2022. After, like, you were inspired by Murder Crumpet, and probably other streamers as well. Correct? That's what you said at the beginning of the stream. Okay. So, your first stream was in January 2022. Your first stream. January 31st, I think. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Because, like, it's very, very interesting to think, because, like, I didn't start too long after you. Now we have to talk about a couple of things. So, how did you, like, you just kind of, like, you grew to the size that you are now in essentially 2 years. Well, not even. We won't even say 2 years, because you've been partnered for a while now. So, like, I guess, okay. I guess, what was your first streams like? Well, we'll start there. And God, that surprises me, to be honest with you. Holy shit. Jeez. Yeah, but I guess, like, what were your first streams like? I was very shy and didn't know what I was doing. Okay. Gotcha. So, your first VRChat streams were largely just kind of, I guess, okay, so, when you say you didn't know what you were doing, what were you doing? And how is it different than what you do now? Because obviously I wasn't there. But how would you compare what you were doing back then to how you kind of conduct your streams now? And kind of, I guess, when did you kind of hit a stride of when you kind of you knew what you were doing? Like, yeah, when did you realize you knew what you were doing, and what was it like to kind of not know what you were doing compared to knowing what you were doing? How are those two different? Oh, hard question, but I gotta ask. To be honest, I still don't know what I'm doing. but I have more confidence than when I started. I world hopped a lot and did a lot of what I do now. So you essentially are doing the same thing you've always done, just with more intent and purpose and, I guess, well, confidence, like you said. Okay. I see. Can you describe it for me? Can you describe? Okay, cause you're still shy now, right? You're still consider yourself a shy person now. So if you're still shy now and you have more confidence, you said you world hopped a lot. You world hop a lot. You were basically doing the same things just with more confidence. Okay, you've already answered the question. I don't have to ask that again. See, I have to catch myself so you're not like repeating yourself. Like I try not to like repeat questions. But okay, that's interesting. Okay. So, with that in mind, I guess, how? So, if I had to kind of like put this into a question, did you have an idea that you were like? Did you have any kind of understanding like that you were like kind of doing something well, and like were you looking at numbers or anything at all as you were kind of starting off to kind of get to like where you are now? Like were you kind of assessing like, okay, I did this for this stream, that didn't really work, let me try something different next stream? Like were you like kind of actively trying different methods and you eventually kind of found something that worked for you? Or are you kind of still just kind of like throwing shit up in the air and just like see where it lands, you know? I guess like, cause like you like one does not simply get to partner. Like you don't just simply like walk into being partner. So yeah, I know. But like the fact is you did it. So I want to kind of understand like your methodology to kind of get to that point, like behind the scenes. So like were you like assessing yourself and kind of like judging, like, okay, I did this, I did that, or were you just kind of just like, you were just doing your thing for all this time, and then one day you woke up and you're a partner? Because you had to apply, obviously. So you had to have some understanding that what you were doing was working, or good, or like interesting. So can you talk a little bit about that? Well, it's hard to tell numbers when you first start out, or are relatively unknown, but I kinda just tried being consistent. Okay, I see. So, you just... go on. I did notice my Saturday night streams did better though. Okay. Gotcha. Were you always streaming at this at that well, for me it's 3 a.m. In my neck of the woods for EST. Were you always streaming at that time? Or did you kind of jump around a little bit until you found something that worked? Yeah, always the same schedule. Interesting. So you stuck with the late night cozy vibe? Was it, or were you always casual, you know, the cozy mute? Kinda. I always liked cozy late night streams, so I thought of trying it and liked it. Okay. So, let me see. So, So, Murder Crumpet was the person who inspired or first kind of exposed you to VRChat, if I understood you, right? Okay. How can you watch Murder Crumpet and then lean towards cozy streams? So, you know, I'm just saying, like, how do you go from that to, like, you know, I'm gonna do cozy streams instead? like, yeah, like, let me fill us in. I'm just a cozy type of person, I guess. Okay, yeah. I mean, true. I mean, that makes sense to me. Like, I think you do it very well. I start watching you probably, like, I want to say, like, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, maybe? I mean, I feel like it's been a while, but again, my perception of time when it comes to VRC is just, it's all over the place because, like I told you before, I mean, hyper reality and all that. So like the time span of which I've been watching you is not incredibly clear, but I know it's been for a while. And like, yeah, the thing that I've always enjoyed about your streams are like the cozy, kind of like playful, exploratory type stuff, and it's very cute, very cozy, very nice, and like your music choices are always like on point. Like I would love to like know like what playlist you use. Like, do you make your own playlist or do you find just original playlists? Are you like curating your own music? Cause like it's always like so nice, and yeah. The lo-fi isn't mine, and one of the EDM ones isn't, but the rest are mine. So you make your own playlist specifically for your streams, in most cases. Interesting. Good. Okay. So, interesting. I like that. Very nice. Okay. When you go live, do you know whether you're going to be cozy or more kind of active? Because I want to reference a specific stream that I saw relatively recently, where you were a lot more kind of active, energetic. The kind of music that you were playing was kind of like, I got this vibe that like you just were not giving a shit. and you were just like it was a different kind of casual stream. Again, I won't specify which one. Maybe you know which one I'm talking about. It happened relatively recently. So like, do you go into your streams kind of knowing if you're gonna be cozy or kind of more, intense? Generally, yeah, based on the playlist I chose. Saturdays are always energy-filled, and weekdays are a mix of cozy and stuff. Got you. Okay. Interesting. All right. So that's kind of like a certain you have a certain standard that you follow like on a regular basis. Like you know that Saturdays are gonna be more like hype, and the weekdays are more gonna be like kind of we're gonna be cozy and chill. Like, basically like you said. Okay, cool. And you've just stayed consistent with that schedule, with your style, with the kinds of streams that you do. How many times I should know that. I honestly should know this. How many times a week do you stream? Three times a week. And were you always full-time? Or did you, I mean, if it's okay. If it's 3 times a week, I would assume that that you weren't always full-time. But before you got to partner, were you part-time? Were you full-time? I did 2 days a week for a while, then pushed to 3 for partner. But then the days I chose made it hard, so I did a lot of 2 or 3. Okay, gotcha. Okay. I applied for partner like 3 to 4 times before I got it. Gotcha. That was I was going to ask you that. Like, how many times did you apply? Because I know it's pretty common for people to apply multiple times, from what I've heard. That's so interesting though, that you were like, when did you get to partner? Like, what when did that happen for you? Around Thanksgiving of 2023. Interesting. Huh. I feel like it feels like you've been partner for much longer. But I mean, yeah, I mean it does. It does. I don't know. Like, I know that I was watching you before Thanksgiving, and it's always seemed like you've always been partner. Like, because I feel like I would have known that you had gotten partner. Because like, did you do anything special for it? Like, did you like do any sort of special stream for it? Like, yay, I'm partner now. Because I don't remember you doing anything like that. It was just like you got it, and you just kind of just kept doing your thing. It seemed like, because I feel like I would have noticed, but maybe I missed it. I had a stream titled "We Got Partner," but that's about it. Okay, I must have missed it. You know, sometimes I can't catch every stream for, you know. Yeah, I know it's okay. I know, I know. Like again, you know, I'm a streamer too. I say the same things to my viewers. They're like, sorry. I'm like, it's okay, dude. It's cool. No worries. I understand. Life gets in the way. We all have lives. It's okay. And like, obviously I have a life and I'm a streamer, so, you know, obviously it happens. But yeah, that's so interesting. So, I guess, do you work? IRL? Okay, so you do, alright. So, wow, okay. So just being consistent and being you, like, you know, being very kind of authentically you, and just kind of doing your thing, you know, got you to partner. Wow, that's actually very impressive. Like I know you're just like, oh, it's nothing, it's no big deal. I know that's what you're saying. I know. But still, like, it's like for someone like myself, who's, you know, I'm still doing my thing. I'm still, you know, trying to get people's attention, still really trying to, like, you know, work through things, and, you know, I know who I am now, but like at the same time it's just like, damn, like I'm probably never gonna get to partner. but I mean like, did you think that, like, or did you like, I know for a fact that you had no inclination that you'd ever get to partner. I know that that was like the furthest thing from your mind, of course. Like, obviously you seem like a very, very level-headed individual, so I don't think that you were like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get to partner, fuck yeah. I know, like, it was just like you were just doing your thing. You're just trying to be entertaining for people, and like that's what I try to do too. I really focus on entertainment, and not overextending myself, and it sounds like that's what you did. And do you think your time slot of like very early or like late, however you look at it, do you think that played a part into you kind of like amassing a following? Because it seems like you got a following relatively quickly. Like, I mean, over the course of like let's say nearly 2 years, like, it seemed like your growth was very consistent. So like, I guess, how to ask this question? Let me see. I guess, when did you get to a point where you were like, this is actually a possibility? So like you said, you switched to 3 days when you wanted to push for partner. What was your kind of what was your metric for understanding, yeah, I'm ready to aim for partner? Well, I needed to stream 12 days a month to unlock it. Wait, it's you need to stream 12 days a month to unlock the possibility? Okay. Oh, okay. Ah, right, so you moved it up to 3 so you would hit 12. Gotcha, okay. Okay. Makes sense. But before that, what was your inclination that you should be pushing the partner? What was your metric for kind of, how did you understand that, like, hey, I can go for this now, or that I should go for this now? Because again, you don't just kind of you don't just kind of like wake up one day and say I'm gonna push for a partner. But like, what was your because like you said earlier that we don't look at numbers when you first start out. I think it's very dumb to pay attention to your statistics when you're first starting out, because that can be very, very discouraging very early on. Yeah. So like, what was your metric for kind of saying, like, hey, I'm ready to kind of like try for this? And like, it seems like even just no matter what the metric was, whatever it is for you, which I still want to know, it seems like regardless of that, you still just kind of did your own thing. You're just kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna be me and do this thing, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, I guess what did you use to know that you were ready to kind of like do that? Basically, I had a month or two of getting 75 average viewers, so I just needed to do the 12 days to unlock the application process. Got you. Okay, I see. Alright. So just a month or two of like doing your own thing, you're getting 75 average viewers, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just stream 3 days now. But I applied 2 times and got denied and kinda gave up for a while and just focused streaming instead of numbers. Yeah. Gotcha, yeah. I actually heard something today while watching, well, not today, I think it was yesterday. I was watching Dan Clancy, the CEO of Twitch, the new CEO of Twitch. I was watching his stream, and he was doing like a Q&A about partner, or he was talking about partner at the time when I tuned in, and he basically said that like to become partner, they look to see if you can maintain that consistency across time. So in most cases, unless you've been doing it across time already, you're probably going to get denied. And I'm saying this for people who don't understand partner. I know you know the process, you understand this very well. So this is for people who don't know. But it makes sense for a lot of people to apply multiple times, I think, because there's just kind of isn't like a very consistent body of experience or consistency across time which is what they're actually looking for. They're not looking for you to hit numbers. They're looking for you to hit numbers consistently over a course of like period of time. So yeah, I totally get that. And yeah, I think for most people it makes sense to just want to focus on streaming and being entertaining rather than worrying about applications and numbers and statistics. But yeah, but I think that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, I'm just kind of baffled and impressed. I'm very impressed. Do you account anything specific to your success? Like what would you, let's say more specifically asked, what do you believe enabled you to get to the point where partner was a reality for you? Like what factors do you think allowed you to kind of get to that, to get there? Like what do you think? more people just kept watching, and I kept feeling like I had more of a chance. But I mean, with regards to you, like, do you think that you did anything specific to I guess, become or to reach the level of success that you've reached? Do you think that, like, do you have any, like, I guess if someone asked you how what factors do you believe made you I guess get to a point where a partner was a reality, like, for yourself? Like, things that you did that kind of contributed to you reaching that goal, if anything. I guess being consistent and doing the best I can to entertain. Okay. I like that answer. And I like that answer mainly because I think a lot of people underestimate the value of consistency. I mean, I know you said you've played a couple of games, but the majority of your content has been VRChat. And that's the thing that you felt most passionately about doing. You wanted to really just kind of do that, and you enjoy it. I imagine you enjoy it a lot. So yeah, it's fun for you. It's entertaining for you. It's entertaining for people who tune in, and it was that's something that you were just authentically passionate about, and I think people felt that. I think your viewers, including myself, feel that, like, you genuinely enjoy doing what you're doing, and it's entertaining not just for them or for us, but for you as well. And I think people underestimate the value of consistency and, like, truly loving what you're doing, and not just kind of doing something because it's the meta, or doing it because other people are doing it. I mean, that's essentially that's what meta is. You're doing it because other people are doing it. But like essentially kind of like being yourself and just kind of like doing what you personally think is best for you, producing your own style, establishing yourself in that way, and yeah, it's really, really interesting. I think a lot of people underestimate the value of that, but I definitely can see how that can play into it. And I'm thinking of it, I'm always thinking of it in terms of, like, I'm not comparing myself to you, but I'm kind of thinking about it in terms of, like, am I kind of like exuding the same kind of I guess, like, the same kind of like authenticity, and I think that I am. I think if I think back to everything that I've done up to this point, it's very much me trying to create content that I authentically love, even though it may be difficult, and although it may not be everyone's cup of tea, I'm doing things that authentically make me me. Cause like who would have like thought that, like, people would want to see a podcast in VRChat, I think it's like, it's just a thing that I wanted to do because I noticed that there was like a surface level of communication. I wanted to show people that there are people who are not only content creators, but just people who use VRC who just genuinely want to connect. And I think, that connection is kind of lost these days in place of parasocial relationships, in place of just kind of being anonymous on the internet. There's no kind of like closeness. It doesn't feel like there's any kind of like connection between humans these days, because anonymity is like major. And like, for what it's worth, you're anonymous, I'm anonymous, and well, to a degree I'm anonymous, but you're very anonymous. To a degree I'm anonymous too, but you're like fully anonymous. As far as I'm pretty sure like no one knows like fuck all about you, IRL, in the VRC community. I would imagine. Yeah, and like you want to stay that way, which is, I think, totally respectable. And I think it makes a lot of sense to protect yourself and to, just kind of be able to do what you do without having to worry about people, encroaching on that or ruining that for you. Just enjoy what I do. Don't worry about who I am IRL. Just kind of let me do what I do. And if you enjoy it, fine. If you don't enjoy it, leave, kind of thing. And that's just the mindset that you've had the entire time. Just trying to have fun and letting people engage with you, yeah? Nice. I love that. Interesting. I'm all like, it's for me as someone who thinks very like, I like to kind of dig into things, as you've noticed. Like, I'm always surprised to find that it's very simple. Like, for some streamers, it's very kind of like straightforward for them. Just, I'm gonna stay in my lane and I'm gonna do my thing, kind of thing. And it's just worked out for you. I like that. So, my next question for you is, how did you? I know you said you kind of experimented, but mutes have a very specific way of expressing themselves. You have a very specific way of expressing yourself. Like, how did you? I think I asked this, but I think I can ask it a little bit more concisely. I guess, like, a lot of what you do in the camera, like a lot of your camera interactions are meant to both be humorous and engaging. Like, I can tell when you're being humorous when chat's like, Cass, stop putting your face in the camera. You're just like, I'm gonna do it more. I'm gonna put my face in the camera and you're gonna be freaked out by what you see inside of my head because it's funny. Yeah. Like, the humor is not lost on me, and I love that about you. But like, how did you kind of establish like how to kind of respond in certain ways to, like, subscribers, to follows, like kind of the more like bigger reactions? How did you kind of like figure that out for yourself? Especially as someone who has said that is very shy. How did you kind of establish such like expressive big I guess actions? I don't know. I just kind of did it. Like, paying for a sub is a big deal for me because you could just not. So seeing support like that is great. So, were you always doing that sort of thing? Were you always kind of like expressing your gratitude in that way, or was that something that kind of came after you like gained confidence, like you said? Like, were you always kind of expressing yourself in those kind of like big like humorous ways? Not always the big ways, but I did express it and thank everyone. Gotcha, okay. So that kind of came later. Like you tried it out. Like you were like, I'm gonna try this kind of thing, and you tried it, and you felt comfortable doing it, so you just kept doing it, more or less. Okay. Yeah, it seems a lot of what you do is very much like, I'm only going to do X if, one, I feel comfortable doing it, and two, if it makes sense to continue to do. You seem to keep things very, very simple when it comes to streaming. Yeah. Do you yeah, comment on that. But yeah, you're absolutely right about people, like, they don't have to. They don't have to sub, so it is kind of a big deal when that happens, for sure. I'm a pretty simple person, I think. I mean, it seems like it's kind of, you've taken a lot of the complexity that plagues a lot of people when it comes to streaming. I think a lot of people get caught up in the complexity and the kind of the competitive, and the innately competitive nature of it, and you seem to just kind of stay in your own lane, and just kind of like do what you do. Like have you ever felt like, I guess, have you ever felt that kind of competitive nature with other streamers, like other mute streamers like yourself, or it's just like, I'm just gonna do my thing and that's that? I don't know if I would say competitive, but it's easier for me to just do my thing. I'd say it's more of not wanting to compare myself to other people's numbers. Okay. Gotcha. So, do you have other streamer friends? I'm assuming you do. Like, I would imagine. I mean, but like how isolated are you? Not that that's a bad thing, but I'm kind of curious. I mean, a select few that try to interact with me. I'm pretty isolated compared to a lot of the other VRC streamers. Okay. Yeah, like I'm more. The more I talk to you, the more I get that feeling that like you're very much kind of like you really are like you're not only like casual the cat, but you actually kind of like live as a streamer like a cat. Like you just kind of do your own thing and don't really like, interact a whole lot with other people. You just like, I am independent. I have the things that I do, and I'm not gonna compare myself to others. And like, it's like a select few that try to interact with you. Okay, gotcha. Okay. And I imagine the number of people who interact with you are like, you can count on like 2 hands. I would imagine. It's probably not a whole lot. Yeah. Interesting. That's That's very wild, because I think the culture, I think the VRC streaming culture is like this kind of overbearing need to not just collab, like, and I guess down the line it could be like collab, but more so it's more so like people feel the need to know each other, you know, and like to like feel like connected, I guess, like, you know, like you're going through the same stuff I'm going through type of thing. I feel like that's kind of like the culture, you know, and people, I think a lot of VRC streamers feel that, and so a lot of us, including myself, like interact with others because like I think it's kind of beneficial to know not only other VRC streamers, but also to know kind of, you know, and like in a very kind of like underlying sense who your competition is, you know, in some senses, you know. But in a lot of ways, it's more so just being friendly with other streamers and getting to know them. But I think that's largely the culture. I mean, that's what it feels like for me. A lot of people that I interact with as well. But you've just kind of like I'm shy. I like to do my thing. I'm interacting with my community, and like I have a very select few group of people that I interact with, very select few VRC streamers that I interact with. Are they actually VRC streamers, or are they like other streamers too? I like how I'll just like stop my thought in the middle of it to ask a question, because like pretty much just VRC. Okay, gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Gotcha. That's super interesting. You're very interesting. That's why I wanted to talk to you. You saying that I'm interesting too? Oh no, you're just you were just like, oh no, I'm not very interesting. Oh, okay, got you. Is that sign language? Gotcha. Okay. So Cass said thank you. You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. I honestly, I'm so glad that you decided to sit down with me, because like you seem like a very interesting streamer, and I was right. You do a lot of things that are like not common. You do a lot of uncommon things in the VRC streaming sphere, and I think it's really interesting to kind of talk to someone who's doing something that's not, you know, the meta or like the norm, whatever you want to call that. I think it's interesting to find out that it's possible to survive just kind of doing your own thing and like living your life. And the fact that you work IRL too, like you have a job and everything. Like I did have a job, so I was like right there with you until very recently. Like the fact that you do that is like super, like it's very impressive, but it's also very isolating. I think a lot of, like I said, like I was saying before, a lot of VRC streamers, I think, feel isolated, and so they want to connect with other people like them. So how do you avoid not feeling isolated? Being so independent. Yeah, like how do you cope with that? I don't know. I just interact with the people that seem to care, and it's worked out. I'm also really introverted, so it's easy for me to be by myself. Felt. Cass, do you think I'm introverted or extroverted? Based on the response, introverted, but would have guessed extroverted. Okay, yeah, I gave myself away. I did. I did. Good, keen eye. Good on you. Good on you for noticing. I did give myself away, but then I thought I should just ask. But but yeah. Normally you would have guessed extroverted. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I am introverted. Believe it or not. I am. Yeah. But to do what you do, like. Again, to do what we do, more specifically, to do what we do, I think there has to be a level of extroversion there in order to kind of be engaging. Because you can be introverted, but be like, you can train yourself to be extroverted to the degree that is most comfortable for you. Like, I wouldn't say that you're extroverted, but I would say that you on camera is relatively extroverted. Because, like, again, being on camera is not easy. And I'm sure you're very aware of that. You're very cognizant of like being on camera is kind of like scary for a lot of people. So like to be on camera and to be willing to like put yourself out there and like you did make a decision for yourself to put yourself out there, in an attempt to, I guess, be more extroverted. Obviously while still being introverted. Same with me. Like you kind of decide to do these sorts of things, and like do you think after 2 years, after 2 years or like almost 2 years of doing this, you're still very introverted, but do you think you've changed? Do you think streaming has helped you be a little bit less shy, a little bit more open, a little bit more apt to interactions? 100%. Okay, great. I mean that's good. It's good. It's mission accomplished, Yeah, because like that's what you set out to do initially. And it sounds like you've also made friends, right? Cool. I hope I can be a friend. That'd be pretty cool. Streamer to streamer. I hope we can be friends. Because you seem really, really interesting. And like how like it's very kind of like. Your way of approaching streaming is very simple but effective. Like you don't try hard. You just do what feels natural, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think a lot of people could probably. I think a lot of people who are like maybe worried about their numbers, or maybe people who are interested in getting involved into streaming, I think could actually learn a lot from like our conversation, kind of learning about like how you approach it in a very kind of simplistic manner, and you're focusing on the entertainment and just about kind of connecting with people and putting yourself out there to just be entertaining and be fun and engaging. And I think if you focus on that, people will watch. If you are not entertaining, you should probably find a portion of yourself that is. And, in your case, you decided to be mute, and it just kind of worked for you, which is, again, super impressive. Very, 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 very interesting. Very surprising, to be honest with you. I thought you were streaming for so much longer, but like I've kind of like. I should be used to people saying, "Oh, I got into streaming during the pandemic. Oh, I started streaming like a few years after the like." It was a very, very big deal during that period of time, and a lot of people decided to kind of take that leap because hard to find work, just like hard to socialize, and a lot of people just got into VRChat during that period of time. So it kind of makes sense. Kind of does make sense overall. But yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate your answers. So, just a couple more questions for you. Where would you like to be in 2 years? Like, where would you personally like to be? Where would you personally like to be? living in a different place and have my life figured out would be nice. Gotcha. Do you want to live in a different place solely because, you know, where you're living now isn't great? Or do you just want to live somewhere different because there are other places where you'd like to live? It's fine here, but I don't have much room. So you want to, wow, my voice just cracked there. So you wanna find a bigger place, a place where you can kind of like have more room to, you know, do VR things and such. Gotcha. So having your life figured out, that's a very kind of broad statement, actually. What do you mean having, to what degree would having your life figured out, what would that look like? Having your life figured out, too. I don't know. I kinda just don't really know what I want to do. So if I could figure anything out about it, it would be nice. So does having your life figured out include streaming? Streaming would be cool. Okay. So whether you continue streaming or not is kind of just dependent on, you know, how, like, continuing to stream like 2 years later would be cool, but you know, if it doesn't kind of line up with how things play out, it's of no consequence. Or would you want to continue streaming, or would you want to still be streaming like 2 years down the line? I mean, it would suck. I would like to continue streaming, but I also feel like as a VRC mute, you have a shelf life that ends at some point. Very insightful. It's a very insightful answer. I don't think I've ever heard like any mute say that before. Like there's like a limitation for like how long you can be relevant for. You know, honestly, you know, if you grew as quickly as you did, I honestly think that like you would keep doing it for years. I don't, like, I'm not gonna say that you don't have a shelf life. I will say that I think what you do is exceptional and unique. And I think it's even more so that way because you choose to stay in your lane and you have kind of developed who you are without the pressure of trying to measure up to any other streamer. Like, you don't consider those things. You simply just enjoy what you do and love doing it. And I think it's an interesting method to stream for a long period of time, to survive for a long period of time. So I honestly think that you could still be doing it 2 years down the line. I honestly don't think that you have a shelf life that would end within 4 years, personally. I think there'll always be a space for someone who is uniquely themselves and, specialize in doing like very cozy streams and like late night cozy streams, and like you have some variety there. You throw in some variety here and there, like with your Saturday streams, but like overall, like what you do, you enjoy what you do, and it's fun for you. I think I think there will always be a market for people who just want to kind of like relax and chill and wind down with someone who isn't talking their ear off like me. It's, I think there'll always be a market for people who don't want to hear someone's voice at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I think there's definitely a market for someone like you sticking around for quite some time, personally, in my opinion, at least. Because I honestly really respect what you do, and again, like I can't thank you enough for even taking the time to come on, because I like you said, I know it was a big step, and I would imagine if I'd known you maybe a year ago, I imagine that you may not have said yes maybe a year ago. Like you think that would have been the case? Yeah. You would have still kind of been too shy and still kind of like too introverted to want to come on and like talk about like who you are and everything, right? Yeah. And like again, like so everything just kind of lined up really, really well. And like I again, as someone who really enjoys what you do, I really am grateful to you that you decided to come on and talk with me. So that other people can know about you, and more people can know about you and appreciate what you do. And again, this isn't about me. This is my podcast, but this isn't about me. This is about you. So I really am truly grateful that you're confident enough to be willing to come on to talk to me and give me so much of your time. So really do thank you for that. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So before we jump into kind of wrapping things up, I do want to give a quick message to those who are tuning in. So give me 2 seconds. So for those of you who are tuning in, we will be moving into the post content very, very soon, and that content will be available exclusively on Patreon. So for those of you who are tuning in, watching the YouTube video right now, I want to let you all know that if you do want to hear some additional questions that either myself or the chat, the live audience, maybe wanting to ask, if you want to learn a little bit more about Casual, you would have to tune in to that content. And the only way to get a hold of that content is by becoming a subscriber on my Patreon. So if you're interested in seeing more and getting like the additional content, the additional like behind the scenes stuff, you can find me at patreon.com/Neferty, and that would be your ticket to getting a little bit more of me and a little bit more of Casual. So if that's interesting to you, please do check that out. If not, that's totally all right. But I want to let you all know that that there is additional content that is made available exclusively on Patreon if that's something you're interested in checking out. But we are going to wrap up the live portion of the stream, you guys, live portion of the video, those of you who are watching by video. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up and kind of go from there. So Cass, thank you again for taking the time to join me here on my podcast. It really means a lot to me. You're great. You answer the questions so phenomenally, so concisely. It's been great to get to know you. I think as a streamer myself, I know a lot of people have a sense of curiosity when they encounter streamers that they like, and I think kind of like sharing more about who you are, like with your community and people who are curious about you, is 100% going to have them appreciate you more. I think if nothing else, people will appreciate what you do more because they understand how your mind works a little bit more. Like you're not just like the mute who goes exploring and everything on various worlds and is just very cute and adorable. Like you're a person with thoughts and feelings and so on who genuinely just wants to entertain people and let people know that they that they're appreciated and that they can find relaxation and enjoyment in your company. So thank you for taking the time to do that, Cass. I really do appreciate you. Where can people find you? Twitch.com/CasualVR. Hell yeah. Alright. And that looks like that's the only place where they can find you. Basically everything else that they can find is on Twitch, yeah? Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, you can find Cass on twitch.tv/CasualVR. And if you'd like to find me, if you'd like to keep up with me as well, you can find me at twitch.tv/Neferty with 2 eyes. You can also find me on Twitter, x.com/Neferty, also with 2 eyes. And also, you can find me on YouTube. Obviously, if you're watching by YouTube, you're already there. Those of you watching by Twitch, hey, you're already there. Hell yeah. But those of you who are watching by Twitch, if you want to find me on YouTube and find more episodes of the Sweet Talking Podcast, you can do so at youtube.com/@Neferty with 1 eye. And yeah, obviously, the Patreon that I mentioned before, patreon.com/Neferty. And also, last but not least, if you want to keep up with what's going on with the podcast, you want to keep up with the guests that we are having on the podcast, there is also a specific exclusive Twitter for updates about the podcast that you can follow at Twitter, x.com/Sweet Talking Pod. So if you look up Sweet Talking Pod, you will find it. And that's a great way for you to keep up with stuff. If you're heavily on Twitter, I'd encourage you to follow that if you want to learn more about the guests that we have coming up in the future, and even past guests that we've had in the past. And also, we announce videos when they go live on YouTube. We also announce video releases there. And obviously, you can join my Discord. Links are everywhere. My Discord links are everywhere on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter. Basically, you can find them everywhere. So if you'd like to join my Discord, that's there for you as well. But I'm not going to put that. That's not going to be something that I'll link. It's there if you want to do that. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you all who have been tuning in. I really appreciate your comments, and if you enjoyed yourself, if you learned something from this podcast, I would really appreciate you dropping a like. It really helps me and lets me know that people are enjoying what I'm creating. I really appreciate that. And if something kind of inspired you, or something something you want to say about to me or Cass, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I've actually turned on comments because I realized that I didn't have notifications on for comments. So I've been missing comments that people have been leaving for like a year and a half. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Maybe it's because I didn't really have much faith in my YouTube at the time. But now that I actually have content there, I actually turned comments on. So if you leave a comment, I'll actually see it this time. Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it very much. Your support and your viewership means a lot to me, and thank you so much for just supporting what we are doing here, the content, in my pursuit to connect people and to value the human connection between people, because I think that is incredibly valuable. And I think streamers are more than you think that they are, and I'm so privileged to be able to interview people like Casual, to let people know that and kind of prove that let's aspire to go beyond the surface. Let's really try to have meaningful connections with people. Let's really try to talk with people and get to know them for who they are, and not simply, hide ourselves because we don't think people will like us. Let's believe in ourselves a little bit more. Cool? Cool. All right, and with that, I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast. It means so much to me. I have been your host, Nefertiti, joined by the wonderful and very, very talented CasualVR. Be sure to find her at twitch.tv/CasualVR. Please go follow her right fucking now. She's amazing and wonderful, and I think you'll enjoy her. So with that said, thank you all so much, and I will see you all in the next one. Until next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Again, I'm joined by CasualVR. And of course, oh, we can delete that in post. You good? All right. We'll delete that in post, no problem. Actually, that'll be a blooper. That will actually be a blooper. So, all right. Oh no! Oh no!